All right. We are back again for another stimulating broadcast in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor, and my co-host, Herb Lewis, the Big Bad Wolf, streaming live on Facebook and YouTube. Tonight, we will be discussing the scenario Ice Cream Social. I know it's the springtime. Y'all like ice cream. I call myself trying to get my summer body right, and he talking about ice cream. We ain't, it's deeper than that. So sometimes as adults, we are faced with making tough decisions regarding letting down our children or a spouse. It can simply boil down to making a choice of who you will disappoint for that particular situation. Here's a snapshot of the scenario Ice Cream Social. Joy wants her father and mother to take her out on an outing for dinner and ice cream. That's all the little young lady wanted. I want to be with my father and mother. It's a dream of mine for us to go have a nice dinner, then we go have dessert, have some ice cream. But Dad, John, will not be able to honor this request because it will cause problems at home with his wife. And at this time, he does not need that added stress to go along with his daily stresses at work. You know how that is. Sometimes, and we can look at it in many directions, but sometimes he's saying, you know what, when I tell her I'm hanging out with them, she's going to raise hell. So I don't even need the added stress. So just tell Joy, no, we're not going to be able to do this family thing and go get dinner and ice cream. So what are your thoughts about that? Make sure you like and share this video. And don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. So, yeah, it's a tough decision. I mean, I don't know if it's really tough. I think it just boiled down to boundaries and kids understanding that you're not going to always be able to get your way, or also a spouse understanding not so much that they're going on doing a family outing, but maybe the father should have said, listen, me and your mother, we're not together. It probably would come better from him explaining to her, but I'm not going to go too deep into it. I'm just giving my thoughts. What else is going on in my world? We can get into this, and that's a whole show. The whole thing is going on, the verdict with George Floyd, the young lady in Columbus, Ohio. It's just so much going on, and I'm like a lot of people, not a lot of people, but people said, because I was watching. I didn't see the actual verdict, but I was sitting there reading stuff, staying updated with alerts and stuff, and I'm like, and going on Facebook, and people like, what are y'all celebrating for? What are y'all celebrating for? Like, we celebrate over moral victories too much as blacks. He's dead. He's dead. He's not coming back. And right before that, they took another one. Well, it was circumstances that led to that altercation. So that's kind of subjective on how people feel about that particular situation. But this is an ongoing battle. This is probably for the rest of our lives we'll be going through that. This didn't mean anything, that verdict, like, oh, we overcame and all that stuff. Nah, geez. Nah, it's far from it. How do we think that it's going when we've been doing this stuff for over 500 years of oppression, white supremacy, and all that stuff? I don't think the day will never come. It just won't. Some of this is learned behavior, and it just be passed on from generation to generation. But that's enough of me. I just wanted to tell y'all what was going on. Good evening, Lakia. I'm going to bring you in a second. Herb, man, what's good with you? What's good with the Ice Cream Social? Eh, talk to me.
The ice cream social. I'm gonna sit on this one with just a simple, you know, hard cone with a scoop of vanilla. No, make it French vanilla. No sprinkles, because this one has a couple of different elements, but I wanna I wanna keep it kind of simple, although I don't necessarily believe that's going to be possible. Um, and I'm gonna follow up what you're talking about with the most recent series of events, and I'll leave the George Floyd case alone, but I will mention this. It reminds me of, and I was going to Buff State when the whole OJ, um, I forget the other gentleman's name, OJ, Rodney King situation happened. I was just recounting the series of events to to another gentleman I work with, or was at work rather. And it's like you said, it's the same old song rehashed and replayed. So the larger question becomes, what are we putting in these kids' toolkits? What are we giving them that allows them to navigate, the society, this ever changing and more complex society, certainly compared to what it was when we grew up. We didn't have some of the influences that have certainly social media. And this probably be something that we'll probably get into Monday. So I'll sidestep what I'm actually the whole thing. So what are we putting in their toolkit? You know, how are we teaching them how to handle things, disappointment, how to handle their anger, how to deal with aggression in a way that you don't hurt anybody. And I know that sounds odd. Some people will say there isn't any way that you can deal with aggression that doesn't hurt anybody. And believe me, there are ways. Just like when you can meditate when you're feeling down, there are things you can do when you're feeling really aggressive, where you want to strike somebody or you want to do some physical harm to somebody. They're two sides of the same coin. So um, that the situation with the young girl being shot. I mean, there's just so many things. So this situation, it reminds me of the graduation thing that we did probably about a month or so ago, maybe 2 months ago. What who gets the ticket?
Mhm.
Who's going to walk away from this with the ability to rebound? And I suppose people will say, well, the parent should take the hit. And should the parent take the hit? That becomes the overriding question, because at some point that child, whether male or female, is going to have to learn how to deal with being told no. And I'm a proponent of teaching a kid while they're young enough to understand basic concepts before they become more complex. Because if you don't teach a child while they're young and you wait till they get to be too old, they become petulant and defiant, and they can't be told no. So, it's just one of the things that I believe we'll end up getting into as the show progresses.
All right. Good evening, Lakia.
Good evening. How
How
you
you
doing?
doing?
How's everybody doing?
Good evening.
Great, great. So I'm just gonna come right at you. Whatever. Ice cream social.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
I was trying to take notes so I would remember my thoughts while you guys were talking. But I heard you say, David, that it's not difficult, but I think it can be, um, especially when in this type of society where there's so much infidelity, so much like cheating or backstabbing or different things that go on. It's hard to trust. And just to give it's hard to trust. You want to come in and you want to be able to trust somebody, but sometimes it gets a little hard for some women or some men because of the things that they've experienced. So it boils down to the child. And I believe, as I've gotten older, I've always wanted to have a mature relationship Meaning, if, and I think I commented, if, like I can be around my exes and I'm like, I'm fine, I don't have a problem, or, with thinking of, missing that person or whatever. But it was hard for me at times to trust the significant other to do the same. So when I'm around like with my kids and their dad, I can be around them, no problem. But to trust somebody else to do the same thing that I'm doing, it can be tough. But I wanted to put my big girl panties on and be that, and be a mature woman about it, and say, hey, have fun with your child, have fun with the parent. It's great that the kids can see we can be adults. We can play in the sandbox together and be just a good play, nothing extra, just having fun on behalf of the child. I think we should be able to do that. And as Herbert was saying, just real quick, that's how we can teach our children to be better mentally and sociably in life, when we could show them we're capable of being that same person that we're trying to teach them to be. So I think it should be okay. It may take a couple rounds maybe for some people to get it, like to really say, okay, I trust you now. Okay, they need to figure out what to do to help them pass the time, so that while they're out having that ice cream social, that they're not and having a whole anxiety attack and ready to run everybody over, So I think it's possible, and I think we should work towards doing that for our children.
Okay.
The question becomes, how do you? But all right, let's take a look at this situation, and let's say it goes the complete opposite of what the child wants.
Okay.
How is that child going to be taught how to react? Because we all look at the upside, and growing up, I used to be a pessimist always, and I think in a lot of situations, it's helped me to balance out being the optimist, because I always look at things in three states: what it is, what it could be if it goes well, and what it could be if it doesn't go well. And I think teaching people only what to look for if it goes well kind of doesn't matter what your age is. I think it does them a disservice, because it doesn't prepare them for the eventuality that something goes wrong. So they're left unguarded. It reminds me of I think it's the 5 or 6 stages of grief. If we always look at things from a standpoint of what they should be, if it goes well, then we're left undefended against what do we do if it doesn't go well. So, and particularly with kids, we rarely want to see kids disappointed. We always want to look for happiness in kids. We always want to look, this is going to be great, this is going to work out, this is this, and when it doesn't, they're looking at you as the adult and they say, well, you lied to me. And we as the adults saying, well, I didn't lie to you, I didn't want to set you up for failure. And we don't realize that in the process of trying to keep them happy, we don't teach them about sadness, we don't teach them about the uncomfortable truths, if you will, that life is going to eventually throw at everybody. It doesn't matter who you are. Everybody's going to have to deal with some type of situation, whether it's death, job loss, or just something that doesn't go, quote unquote, right. And I think that the lack of the ability to be able to sustain that, doesn't matter if it's one time or a lifetime, kind of inhibits us from actually being fully actualized adults. You want to walk on the table there, oh boy?
Tell that cat to sit his ass down somewhere.
He normally doesn't do this.
You always fight with the cat every show.
No,
that's why I have my own view, because my kids are in the background where. But just to talk about what you just said, Herb, It is very important. That's why, as parents, we're the parent and we are their teacher. The word says, "Train a child in the way that they should go, and it should never depart." So they're in training. Children are always in training. I remember this one guy. He was like Pakistani, Arabian, something in that ethnicity, and he was saying up to the age 7, like children are just kind of being children, but like from 7 to like 13, you're teaching them
Yeah.
how to be. And like for me as a parent, I'm always teaching. You have to let kids know that no is no. And if mom says this is not going to happen, even going through the divorce with the kids, my one daughter, she was angry with me. I mean, angry. And she couldn't understand it. But you know what? I had to just say, you know what, baby, you don't understand right now, but you will understand. I never bashed her dad. I never said nothing negative about him. I just said, you just don't understand right now. You're too young, but you just keep growing. One day you're gonna understand. And I had to, even though it may hurt me that she was hurt, but I knew it was only for a season. And I had to just keep being the mother that I knew to be to her, and I knowing that what I was giving all the kids was genuine, being who I'm supposed to be as a mother. So as she got older, she understood. But as parents, we have to bear that burden at times where they're not getting away and they're not going to understand at the time. Say, hey, baby, you don't understand right now, but just know as you grow, trust mommy, you will understand after a while. Because they do. They're going to grow and they're going to start having their own relationships, start having their own children and whatever. And then they're going to say, yeah, I see what mommy was talking about. I see what daddy was talking about. But we just have to trust the fact that we're doing what's best for our children. But be honest, I never lied by the grace of God. I don't believe I ever lied to the kids because I felt like I didn't want to insult their intelligence because kids are very smart, more smart than we give them credit for. Some kids are, but I believe most kids are actually. So I just think you just always should be honest. But if they don't like it, oh well, they'll get over it. I'm your mother. I'm not your friend. I'm your mother. That's
Well,
how I approach it.
and I think that's the difference. They'll look at it as a lie, whereas the adult we don't. And it harkens me back to I was young. I was living in Griffin Manor when my aunt passed, and most of the boys at that time we stayed with our aunt in Griffin Manor. So I remember the day, and this is what I'm getting at. How do we teach kids adult concepts? Because when my aunt died, my brother was 6. Man, no concept of death, not to the extent that he needed to. So one of the things that I did was I used the story Cinderella, and I explained death to him in that manner, and he understood it. I figured by the time he figured it out, he will be too goddamn old to really care about that, and he will understand the concept of death in the way that it actually is. So I'm always a proponent of trying to teach a kid an adult concept. It's like they say, when you're in a group of people, you always speak to the person that knows the least. I know David probably understands this as well. When you're in a class, you always teach to the middle, they say, and that's so you reach in everyone. Nobody's kind of left behind, nobody's pushed aside, so that when it comes to something complex, you can figure out who doesn't understand what, and you can kind of go get them afterwards, or the person, because you in a classroom setting, and I want to venture off for a moment, you don't want to lose the smarter of the kids because they'll end up becoming a distraction into themselves, and sometimes around with the people or their classmates sitting around them because they're bored, because they're uninterested, because they're like, this is remedial for me. I'm far past this, so I need something to entertain me or to keep me mentally stimulated and occupied. So that's why I'm always looking for ways to teach kids adult concepts.
All right. So let me go back to the scenario. I just want to read like the 5 steps that I always have set up in cocktail conversations. We already talked about the issue. So here's some of the perspectives that from outside people what they said about the situation. So the conversation should have been held before John got married with Joy about expectations. But despite it all, John should honor the request. Like no matter what, honor that request that your daughter is asking. Someone else said John needs to show his daughter unconditional love and put his marriage and job issues to the side. See, the thing with that is putting his marriage, then putting his job to the side. And I know sometimes we have to have a healthy balance, but also sometimes putting the wife or the spouse to the side, that may take time. But to say put your job to the side, your livelihood that you eat, or whatever the case is, sometimes that's not the simplest thing to do. And I know a lot of times people say, oh, my kids, my family come first and this and that. And in certain ways, that's the case. But shit, you lose your job and you don't have nothing, and y'all all sitting around looking at each other, and nobody can help one another. That's a different ball game. So that may be a little folk tale that people be saying, family first and all that stuff. You gotta eat. You gotta eat.
Right.
So
that's true.
That's important. Someone else said John needs to explain to his daughter why this can't happen because he doesn't want to give her any false hope of him getting back with her mother. This situation could cause unnecessary stress. If you're going to do it, invite all spouses to attend as well. So make it a big powwow, I guess. The stepmom, if the mother got a boyfriend, I ain't about to do all that for no damn ice cream and dinner. I'm just saying. But I guess if you think about the child, you say, you know what? If this is all she asking for and we all can get together, we can have peace. And sometimes it is peaceful situations. It's not always bad like people think. I don't always have Cinderella stories or Disney endings because I know that those aren't not teachable. I like the grind, the struggle. So I like to talk about situations where you can be uncomfortable and you can grow. But if they all can come together like that, and I'm sure in some situations it does happen like that, like birthday parties and stuff like that. Unless you have somebody that you're dealing with and I don't want to do that. I don't do all that. And they just being a jerk or whatever the case is. But if you ask somebody open, like, all right, we'll go, we'll have a good time, whatever. I'm comfortable who I'm with. They got their own situation. I just want my baby to smile and be happy. Then you'll make it work. All right. Go ahead.
Well, like Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith, they had their show where they showed how they were all co-parenting together with his ex, and how they would always be together, hanging out, or being around each other, and just for the betterment of the son, and his kid, and they're just being a big family. And I think that was a good show. I watched it. I don't know if you guys have watched it, but it was pretty good. So it is possible. And I believe people are doing it all every day. It's just not talked about enough.
Yeah.
Well, but the question becomes, who is it possible for?
Everybody I think that everyone that wants to be mature about the situation and think the betterment was good for the child. I think that's who would, whoever wants to be a mature adult.
Well, and see, and that's what I was trying, and that's what I was alluding to earlier. At what point should a parent be willing to disappoint a child? Because
it has to be a particular scenario. It has to be a scenario that causes that.
No, I'm not looking for a scenario. I'm saying at what point? What point in their development, in their mature, in their march to adulthood, should a parent be willing to disappoint the child? Because most often for a parent, they're forced to disappoint their child around Christmas. That's because certain realities have come to light and they can't hide them any longer. Then they start to realize that money matters. because they can't go out and purchase certain things. You know, we for good, better, or worse, some of us have dealt with geez, um, some element of bullying. Whether you've been bullied over your clothes you wear, not having a mother or father around, or whatever the case is, that's um an element of disappointment that we learn to deal with early in life. So we become adjusted to that. So when we get older, we're not as fragile. You know, people say develop a thicker skin. That's in essence what they're, at least in part, in essence, what they're talking about. So if you have a kid that's always being acquiesced to, or at least their demands in terms of what they want their mother and father to do, particularly if they're not together any longer, and they've always been given that, then that person will grow up to teach their kids that they can have anything that they want.
Well, that's why you
And
can't
that,
do that. You can't give your child
well,
everything they want. Right.
that's what I'm asking, is at what point do you teach your child that somebody's going to tell you no and you're going to have to like it?
I think that's from the beginning. That's as they begin to grow and things like if a child's trying to go and grab an iron or grab something that's hot, or like my daughter would try to run off the bed, and like the girl can't even walk. She try to run off the bed, like no, you can't do that. It starts from whenever they start doing things. It's either yes, you can do this, or it's no. So I think it starts from when they start operating in their development stages, wherever part they are in life and developing. And they do something that's not good or beneficial for them. That's where it starts.
Well, no, and we see that with the terrible twos, and this is why you always see a lot of kids in stores that are falling out until the parent says, "Okay, okay, you can have it," and all of a sudden the kid turns to normal.
No, I ain't do that. My kids ain't. Boy, go sit down. So you going? They got it right in the middle of the store. So
But
no.
that's precisely what I'm getting at, especially now in this culture where everybody thinks you can't discipline your child. And I'm always quick to tell people you can physically discipline your child provided that you don't leave marks. People say, "Well, I've never been told that," because you never ask anybody, you never consult anybody. You always take what the public says and you think it's laws. I'm like, go ask your social service worker, go look up online. All this information is available. We walk around with these devices, but nobody really utilizes them to the point where they're actually good for something else besides sending a text, looking at social media, or making a phone call. I'm like, people, there's a wealth of intelligence at your fingertips, but you have to be willing to use it.
And that's true as far as that. And a lot of times I'm caught in a catch-22 with that situation, especially if a kid come in with bruises. But you can't,
Oh yeah.
long as it's not obsessive. And it was a lot of times kids came in and told me, "Oh, Mr. Glover, I want to report such and such because last night I said that, and my mother or my father pushed me into the shelf." And I'm like, "Okay, you got any bruises or whatever?" And and then I'm talking them through the process, and then they say, "Well, I got up in her face." Hold up, hold up, you got in her face, and she pushed me. Now, you got any bruises? No, or whatever. Well, I don't know. I can send you to the nurse. She can investigate, but stuff like that, I'm not so quick to. Well, part of the reason is that you got to be on point now because they so backload with so many cases that during the screening process, if you don't have nothing saying that it's some bruises, a lot of that stuff will be like, okay, they'll look it up and check to see if the parent had any other, records or cases against them. And then a lot of times it's unfounded or whatever the case is. So we're not going to get all into that, but that's just some of the things that happen because kids, they learn this stuff. We go into classrooms and talk about, at least in our district, about child abuse and all that stuff. So some of them and bullying, and sometimes I like, man, is this a double-edged sword? You tell these kids this, and now all of a sudden everybody think they're bullied. They miss the message. You're not bullied when you go back and forth. Somebody clowns you and they called you ugly and they keep talking about you, but you respond back. That's not bullying. You went back and forth, and a lot of
Right.
times people are miseducated on that. And then, the Obamas was pushing for the bullying thing. So it got real big during their administration. And I'm like, this shit killing me. These bullying, these incident reports and all of this stuff, because Michelle Obama had a passion for school counselors, whatever. Thank you, Michelle. I wish someone else would have passion for our position like that, but some of the things that was perceived during that time was like, okay, this is overkill, and not everything is bullying. And if you go back and forth, and plus, I think it was just this culture, because I'm like, oh, we all went through bullying back in our days. You just have to have tough skin and deal with it, but you can't say that in this day and age. But that's just that. I want to get through these other points, and then we can go on. And one of the things is that somebody said children do not always get their way and need to understand they do not have a say in all situations. And that's a powerful thing, because a lot of times people give their children a lot of leniency, that they could say what they want to say, and some things just can't question everything. And I know some people may say, well, I want my kid to be knowledgeable. I want to be open with them. Some things you just can't go back and forth. Because if you think about that as far as equating it to education, if a teacher had to go back and respond to every little thing a kid said during the thing, how would you get through anything? How would you be able to move forward? So kids are inquisitive, but some things have to be a solid no. I'll explain to you another time when I got time. Mommy doing this, daddy doing this. I can't do it. And they'll get it. If you're consistent with that message, they'll know. But nowadays, with all this leniency, whatever, and all that stuff, and kids can do what they want to do, and everybody like, oh, that's like my best friend, we besties and all that. I'd be damn if I ever say a kid and me is besties. That ain't gonna happen. A lot of people, oh, we're twinning today, we're besties. Nah, can't go out like that. You can't go out there. You still have to show that you're the authority figure. All right, let me get through this one. So prior knowledge to the situation, prior to John getting married, he was always flexible and open to Joy's entire request. Many people would consider her being spoiled, but ever since he has gotten married, everything seems to be a problem. John has done a poor job of balancing his relationships. So now we're adding a little more peace to it. Joy used to get her way all the time. Daddy always came through. And now somebody's putting something in his ear, probably saying, damn, don't you think you do too much? Damn, she always get her way. That little girl's spoiled. You're going to have a handful to deal with when she get older. So now he's thinking like, damn, everything, that's my little princess. Everything I want to do and I share with my wife, she always got something to say. So he shoot down the request and say, nah, I ain't about to deal with her and all that stuff. And then things start getting complicated. Actions. These are some of the actions. A simple solution for John could have been, let me take my daughter out along with her mother. Now, y'all might not like this, this response. Remember, this is coming from the controversial counselor perspective. What my wife don't know will not hurt her. Hell, I am sure I don't know everything she does. Problem is solved. So he could have took that route. He could have. Just being real.
Well, that would have caused problems. What if mama wife roll up or like show up or, drive by like, wait a minute, what is this? And not told, I'd rather know, like, tell me, let me process this. Let me digest this. Let me get it all up in my spirit and prepare me. So I can
put it out there. I just put it out there.
No, that ain't never gonna help the situation because I found where situations where somebody say, yeah, we ain't gonna say nothing. I'm like, okay, yeah, don't say nothing. Then the next time we together, they open up, oh girl, remember this? And they look at then my ex-husband looking at me like, You ain't tell me about that. I'm like, this heifer. You know, it's like, so you know, you looking for trouble. They always somebody will try to keep some under wraps. No, they gonna find out.
It's like a stick, it's like a stick of dynamite in a dam, boy. All of a sudden, you like, where did the water come from? Uh-oh. Yeah,
Yeah,
you have to be, you have to be aware of what, quote unquote, a secret in the hand of a kid who has an ulterior motive can
that
do.
too. Mm-hmm.
Because if that kid wants to come back, okay, you know what? He didn't tell such and such. Okay, I'm gonna wait till we get around, and I'm gonna drop this little nugget, and I'm gonna see how they handle it. Because
Yeah.
Daddy, that ice cream was good. Remember me?
Okay. Oh, trust me, it's coming up.
Yeah. What
Don't
you
think it
talking
ain't gonna
about?
come up.
Remember, Daddy, you had the chocolate, the double scoop, and we had that. It was a few days ago.
And mommy had the peppermint
yes, sir.
Oh, it's some trouble going down.
Talk about Neapolitan, boy. Somewhere in the middle, that strawberry don't fit.
Real. That's real. I had a story that came to mind that happened to me that was similar. I had to let it come back, but oh man, it never fails. It never fails.
Yes, I mean, like I said, man. Sometimes the pros and cons, man. Sometimes you rather have a disappointed child than a pissed off. Now, you've shown an element of distrust in your mate. So your mate now,
yeah,
they want to question everything you do. They want to question where you go. They want to question why you go. When all of a sudden before it was like, okay, no problem. I'll see you later. You've sown that seed, and that seed, in the right conditions, take root, man. And all of a sudden, the foundation of what was once rock solid, all of a sudden, it's got cracks and fissures, and everything you do from then on out is on unstable ground. And you're saying, how the hell did this start? And they say, well, remember when you didn't tell me you did this, but it was just for it, but you didn't tell me. I don't care what it was for. You didn't tell me.
right.
You've always told me everything up until then. Why now? Why would you hide
And that's exactly what happens too, because the mind is absolutely working at all times, and is always trying to get you to think something is going on anyway. So
Hold up, kid, hold up. The mind has nothing to do with behavior.
well, listen, my mind tell me he doing something he ain't got no business. My behavior about to act up. I'm picking up my phone. Wait a minute, where you at? So my behaviors will begin to change. I have to tell you, just to be honest. But yeah, I was, it was just something that, I've learned. Like kids, like you said too, Herb, that kids can be very manipulative.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, and I'm telling my oldest son, I don't care if he's watching this, he was spoiled, and so he had me, then he had his dad's side, and he'll say one thing to him, and then he'll say one thing to me, and then me and his dad is at odds because he got us thinking different things. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna go show up at his daddy house because his dad had pretty much told me off on the phone. On a voice message or whatever. And I said I was gonna show up at his house and we're gonna talk about this thing. I went over to his house, knocked on the door, and he was scared. Like, what you doing here? I said, we gotta talk because our son is manipulating us. So kids can be very manipulative. And after that, we never had no problem.
That reminds me of a part in the movie Apollo 13, very early on when the daughter wants to wear something and Tom Hanks was playing wow, just forgot the name. Tom Hanks is playing the lead character, and he comes home, his daughter's asking him if she could wear something, and then he says yes, and then his wife gives him that look, and he says no. That's how easy it becomes to be caught up in what a child is trying to do between and they were married, so between parents living under the same roof, it's like Lakia saying, get those, and Gwendolyn saying, get those ground rules set.
Yeah.
So the manipulation, before it even becomes a concept in the child's mind, It's already squashed. You say, look, what did your mother tell you, or what did your father tell you? And they'll say, well, they were told such and such. And weren't you told that the next time you tried to do something like this, there was going to be some consequences? Now, the part that a lot of adults don't do is they don't follow through on the consequences. So you're only giving them lip service where you should actually be giving them some type of negative consequence. And that's how you actually start to teach them that what you're doing is unacceptable and is not going to be tolerated. And once you do that, it becomes easier down the line to loosen the reins. And you can take a situation like this and say, okay, you know what? We've always done it this way. And the child says, well, why can't we do it this way? You say, okay, you know what? This child is starting to grow. They're starting to develop a level of independence, and they're starting to understand that you can try certain things. And if it fails, then that's okay. You say, okay, you know what? Let me talk to your mother about it. And that's when you start to foster, the hope in a manner that doesn't become overwhelming to the point where they think everything's a hopeful situation. You say, okay, you know what? I sat down and your mother and I discussed this, or your father and I have discussed this. This is what we're going to try to do. This is no guarantee that it'll work out. And they say, oh my God, my parents are the best. They're going to draw something for me. And this is just me speaking anecdotally, because I don't have any kids, so I can't really say what will work in every situation. This is just something I'm throwing out there because I've seen other people do it. And they say, okay, you know what? This worked this time. It may not work next time, but at least we did try this. We gave it the old college try, as it said. And they say, okay, you know what? This wasn't bad. We got people together. The personalities didn't clash. We didn't have any major blowups. Everybody was cool. The next time we might try a combined picnic. To where we go out. Excuse me. We go out to a park. We get a grill, or we bring a grill, and we get everybody together, and we see how this works. The baby steps. But too often, everybody just want to jump in the deep end, and in the murky water, you don't know what's at the bottom of the pool, and all of a sudden you hit the bottom, you say, uh-oh, something's biting me. What the heck is? You look up, you got a crab on your foot. You're saying, okay, now that's not cool. So, the baby steps, see what works and see what doesn't work.
But things. Oh, go ahead, David. I'm sorry.
I'm just going to leave this last part of the scenario. So, potential consequences in this situation. Joy having resentment with stepmom because ever since she came into her father's life, the dynamics have changed. Also, if John does decide to sneak off and attend the outing and his wife finds out, and certainly some issues will arise, and she will question the nature of the outing. Requests like this can be granted with open communication and understanding from each party. If not, the ice cream could get real messy before Joy gets the request granted.
I did want to go back to that because it goes back. The number one thing, though, is having healthy relationships. And the husband, like setting the standards in the beginning, having those conversations with your wife, the wife being understanding, the husband being understanding, whatever vice versa, and what's going on. It's all about trust, and it's all about building healthy relationships. And that's how we can teach our children to have healthy relationships. Go ahead.
Oh, no.
It's just about being honest. And I think that's what we just struggle with as adults. Who we can trust, who we can't trust. And then what I also know, I've seen, and I don't know, you men know more than regarding your relation, your interactions with women. But for me, interacting with men, sometimes men feel like they don't have to explain themselves. Because they feel like they're having to answer to a woman, or when it comes to their kids. I think to have a healthy relationship, you have to have those conversations, and you have to set some type of boundaries that is healthy for both people, because it's about everybody loving. If you love somebody, then you care about their well-being, you care about their mental state. And I think you just need to just be mindful and be willing to be open, be willing to be trusting, and find out ways to make it through that ice cream social or dinner or dance or whatever sporting event. Or I have that all the time. I honestly do. Like my ex-husband, like I've had more interaction with him than I did probably when we were married. And I'm like, and it's okay. And I'm like, we're okay. And I'm just grateful for that, because it's for the benefit of the children. The kids are more healthier mentally with that. But I did still find that it was hard for me to accept, um, a significant other having those same kind of interactions. Um, and it's just that's so where I had to check myself and just say, hey, get it together. You have to trust it, and just like you do what you do, they're gonna do what they do, and it's gonna be okay. So
Well,
we have to.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Forgive.
No, I'm done.
I think that's key. Especially when you're dealing with blended families or children from a prior relationship. And I always say that the foundation needs to be set at least between the primary parents. Now, I'm not saying that the step parent or the mate of whoever needs to have a say in how the one child is raised. I don't think they do, even if they're under the same roof. To that, I will say this, that whether it's a man coming into the woman's life and she has kids or vice versa, that individual coming in needs to have their input routed through that individual, because you're not just going to step in where it's already been established that they're raising this child to be a particular way. So if that child's being raised to be a particular way and you don't think that's fitting, you need to take a back seat to what those two primary parents are doing and play your role. I know that might offend some people. They'll say that child is under my roof. Yes, that child may be under your roof, but that is not your child. Ergo, you do not have say in how that child is being reared. And I think that causes a lot of conflict, because people think that, well, how do I have any say when that child is living, with me, partaking of the labor that I give this union? That's just the way that cookie is. You just don't. And if that's too much for you, then you may want to reconsider your position in the relationship, or just reconsider that relationship at all.
All right. So I want to move on to some of the things that I post throughout the last couple of days regarding this situation. So one of the scenarios in one of my groups, I got a lot of feedback regarding this. But Ava's man Gerald is going to visit her, and it will overlap with her son Avery's weekend. So I'm assuming that Avery, the son, spent probably alternated weekends, and this weekend he was with mom. Avery told his mom she has a choice, him or Gerald.
Oh.
Avery only gets a chance to see Gerald twice a year. What would you do, and how would you explain your decision to Avery or Gerald? Now, Gerald was in the military, I guess, but when I posted this in other groups, they dissected the picture of Gerald and the way he was rocking his military fatigue, that he wasn't really in the Army. But I always say that's the beauty of it all, perceptions, because certain people look for certain things. So they honed in. The way they responded is they attacked Gerald because he had his Army hat cocked to the side and had his Army shirt rolled up, and he's like, he really not in the Army and stuff like that. But that's a question you have to ask, because sometimes kids try to strong arm you, and people make decisions based on their kids. They can have something good, and your kids say, I don't like them, or whatever the case, I don't like her. And if you get caught up in that, you can lose the opportunity of missing out on someone that you could have had a lifetime with. So kids play those games. Uh, and sometimes, as a parent, you say, "Why don't you like her? Why don't you like him?" I don't know. I just don't like. She seemed creepy. She too controlling, or whatever the case. She's aggy. He's aggy, and if you feed into that, then that's what happens. So in this situation, now granted, this guy, I don't know why, because even in this other group, they start dissecting it like, oh, people in the military get 30 days off and all that. Okay, I don't know about it. Maybe he had other obligations, but in this situation, he only got to see this woman twice a year. Now, some people say, oh, that just can never happen with me twice a year. So this time it was an overlap when he was able to see her and her son was there. He said, make a choice. Sometimes kids put strong arm parents and you have to make a choice. Now, some people is like, oh, obviously that's a no brainer. I'm choosing my kid. How is that a no brainer? How is that a no brainer? Whatever, where is your happiness also, what's your child's reason for thinking that? So it kills me sometimes with the responses when people say like it's an absolute, like that is because somebody said, is this a real question? Yes, a real question. If they read through all the comments, they'll realize it was a real question because some people said, wait a minute, that's a child. They don't dictate what the hell I do or whatever the case is. So it's so fun. People funny, period. What's your take on that?
No, and I see these things, and this is why I always harken back to what was their life like growing up when they faced circumstances that they didn't like. Me, I didn't have a choice, so I learned to deal with a lot of things early on, and I'm the type I roll with the punches, where I can't change anything, and then where I can, I'm taking control. A lot of people, they accuse me of certain social situations of liking to be in control. And I'm thinking, what's wrong with liking to be in control? It reminds me of the movie Fight Club, where they're sitting in the car and he just says, release the steering wheel. I'm not releasing the steering wheel. Are you crazy? We on the highway doing 75. The hell I look like releasing the steering wheel. But you have some people that, hey, they release the steering wheel and they'll say, hey, God will handle it, or whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. No, 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 no. I'm gonna make sure we get to where we're supposed to get to. So you have some people that are like that, and hey, if it works for them, it works for them. I just can't funk with it. I need some deodorant. I'm gonna put some deodorant on it. I'm like, no, man, that smell like an old batch of collard greens. Get rid of that mess.
No, that can be a little tough sometimes as a mother. I have to say I've experienced that. And you're right when you say like kids sometimes will say, they'll throw that out there at you because they may not. I think sometimes kids experience. Okay, so I'm just gonna be a little transparent. My one daughter, she didn't like somebody else talking to because she had overheard me crying. So ever since that time, she did not like that person, which I didn't know. She had heard me crying. So she would always give me a hard time if I did want to go somewhere. But I would say, as a parent, listen, I'm the mom, I'm an adult, you're a child. I'm going out for a while. You're going with your dad or you're going with your grandmother, and I will see you when I get home. So you just have to pick and choose your battles. It depends on what the situation is. And I later had found that out because she shared that with me when she got older, after I was no longer dating the person. She didn't tell me right away.
No,
but after we weren't dating anymore, she shared that with me. And it was so happened on her birthday. Kids don't forget things like that. Yeah. So, that was sad for her to experience that. You try to hide things from kids, but they're always watching. They're always listening. They're always minds are. I don't know about nobody else's kids, but as soon as I pick up my phone, they like they they looking and they want to act like their eyes is moving. So they always trying to see what mom is up to. So I'm always striving to be a little more careful when I'm around my kids. But that happens. So I think in this scenario, a woman just you have to just say I'm the adult. I love you. And when they get older, even to the point where kids want to try to choose who you date. And it's like, when you get older, I'm not gonna be able to choose who you date. I'm gonna say I don't like little Johnny, but you're gonna still hang out with little Johnny. I'm gonna say don't marry Johnny, you're gonna marry Johnny or Elizabeth, whoever's gonna be. And I'm not gonna have a say, so you can't let kids have a say over your relationships either.
But the funny thing about that is this: kids will assign certain behaviors to adults that they're not supposed to do because they only associate them with kid-like behaviors, and crying is one of those. Crying, yelling, being quote unquote out of control. And they'll say, "Well, wait a minute. If you're the parent, then why were you yelling? Why were you crying? Why were you screaming? Why were you mad?" Because they only associate those things from their perspective. And I think that that becomes a a point where they don't quite understand that just because you reach a certain age, that doesn't mean you don't engage in certain behaviors. And I think, and I think this is why the women always say, why don't men, or why do men think it's wrong to cry in front of a woman? It's not that men will think that way. Sometimes in the wrong hands or in the wrong sight, it transmits something that doesn't necessarily need to be transmitted at that particular moment. So oftentimes, what is viewed as a sign of weakness or vulnerability, then somebody else will try and use, and that creates friction. Especially, let's take this and let's put this in the mind of a 10-year-old boy who sees his father break down because of something happened. He sees his father crying. He says, "Oh, my dad's weak. My dad's crying like a little girl, crying like I was when I skipped my knee up." And all of a sudden, that boy gets to be about 14, 15. He wants to try his father. And his father's got to look at him like, "You really think you a man now? Because you done got some height and some size on you? Listen, boy, I will take your behind." And in some, in a stern manner, he lets him know that you might be bigger than your mother, but you're never gonna be able to whip my ass. So I think what you experience, Lakia, just in terms of your daughter, manifests itself differently in a boy. And I think that's always something, that a dynamic that needs to be established, or at least understood. I mean, let me not say established. That's a dynamic that needs to be understood so that people grow up with a healthy sense of understanding that when that individual cried or when that individual did this, it was just in the moment. They're not that type of person.
Right. You do have to explain that, and that's something I have found myself having to explain. But there's something else I want to share about you were saying about with the children, a person not having a say with your girlfriend or boyfriend's kids. For me, I think we need to teach our children respect adults, period. Doesn't matter who they are. I've always taught my kids you're going to respect the adults, to respect those that have authority over you. And so I remember there was a time with I'm gonna share experiences because I think experiences me is a lot, where I remember my son, he was being, getting older, and um, he had said something to my ex-husband, and I said, "Ooh, you don't say that to a man," and they started tussling a little bit because he was starting to, feel himself, and they started tussling. I was like, "Oh Lord," I'm trying to break it up, but at the same time, I did not want to give my son that space to think he can disrespect a grown man that way because he wouldn't want to be disrespected
So
that
who
way.
won? Your son? Did your son fold him up? Think you
No,
froze.
he's stronger. You
You in T-Pain mode.
I'm in T-Pain mode.
Yeah.
Yeah, break it up.
Yeah.
Oh, am I still breaking? Is it still breaking up now?
No, it's better now.
Yeah, I don't know what's happening. I don't know if it's my internet or what, but yeah, no, he just roughed him up a little bit. Like, he just held him down, like just up against the wall, and let him know he's stronger than him.
Yeah.
And my son was like, then he, broke down. But when boys start feeling themselves, they They want to start, try some, whatever. And but I knew then, I was like, I'm not gonna get in the middle of that. You don't do that to a man. You don't disrespect a man that way. And I think that's nothing. And that's how, as a mother, we have to teach our sons that too. You're not just gonna come in and just disrespect a man that's my husband or my boyfriend or whatever. You can't just come in here just being disrespectful to any adult. Period. So I think it's just about teaching them respect.
And to what Lakia is saying, anybody that's watching this, if you haven't seen the movie Fences, I would encourage you to watch that movie. There's a portion in that movie where Denzel and his son get into it just like she described, and that situation turns out much the same, except there is no physical altercation. So these themes, they're prevalent in history. We may not see them all the time, we may not hear about them, but trust and believe they do occur. And I don't recommend the movie Fences just based on that particular scenario. I recommend the movie Fences because it deals with infidelity, it deals with racism, it deals with a whole lot of different concepts. Even though it was based in the 1950s, I do believe a lot of those concepts and issues are still prevalent today. So I encourage anybody to watch that movie.
Well, yeah, I know what time it is. It's that segment of Who Needs Counseling. We don't have our typical panel. I don't know. They probably got some little revoke or whatever, having a meeting in the ladies' room or whatever. If they listen, they know I don't give a damn. My show still continues. I'm the motto of consistency. I just keep it going. I don't give a damn if it was me and one person I was talking to. It's still going to go on because information travels. So, who? No, hold up. I got to pull up the thing for that.
I was wondering.
Pull that up. All right. Now, remember, I said who needs counseling. This referral thing on here is based on things I see on social media, things I observe. And I'm going to start off with this one. There has been an influx of women heading to the DR, the Dominican Republic, Miami, Atlanta, to get fake asses. Great job using stimulus, income tax, and unemployment for these asses. Why? Then we made it even to validate that, I'm not the only one feeling like this. Somebody on my friend's thing said, these fake butts look so stupid. Please just stop. You have more to offer than a surgeon-made ass. What is the problem, ladies? What is the problem? What, you go in the mirror, you do your pose and all that stuff, and you say, I got a distorted hip or whatever. I need to get a fake ass. Is your esteem that bad that you go spend? I don't even know how much it costs. Lakia, you might have to inform us how much it costs or whatever. But how much do it cost to get a fake ass that you know it's not real? Because I've seen some.
My glasses off.
I've seen some downsides to that. Actually, I remember working at night school a couple years ago, and I'm sitting there, and we registering people to come in, and I'm like, what the hell? And after the parent left, one of the ladies said, Glove, And I'm like, yeah, there's like, she had a fake booty. I'm like, there's like, I know you seen it. And I was like, all I see was some disproportionate stuff. There was a mess, whatever. What is the problem? For real. Is your man requesting you to do that? Are you feeling that bad about yourself that you're going to travel, play flight tickets and all that stuff to go get a fake ass? I don't understand. I don't get it. I think you need counseling. Talk to me, panel, please. The fuck, as the kids say, the fuck.
Really, really, all of that.
Yeah,
Okay,
for real.
okay. So since I'm the only woman here, they left me alone. I never got no invite to the ladies' room, but okay. Okay, so I don't want to say that it's low self-esteem. It may, for some people, it may be. But as a woman, you do at times admire seeing what men see. And that's a nice round bottom, like that nice little apple bottom. Or, you find yourself that it's hard to work out and you got this gut now, this COVID-19, this COVID-15 as far as weight wise, because you ate up everything in the house because you couldn't go nowhere. To your breast, women been getting implants for years, but all you see now is women like on television, the beaches, going out, if you go to the beach or going to the club, whatever. It's not just about self-esteem. It's just about enhancing yourself. It's about enhancing yourself if you're going to exercise, okay, it could be like that if you exercise, but not, or if you start eating certain foods, drinking those shakes to help you gain weight or lose weight. I think it's just about trying to enhance we're trying to enhance ourselves. Have I thought about it? Absolutely. Judge me all you want. Okay. But as I don't have that 34, 26, 34 like I used to. I ain't that brick house. Like I'm still a little brick house-ish, but it's not as it used to be. So of course now, I got some coins in the bank and I want to go out there and get a little tap it off this little tap whatever that is. Anywho, to tap it off a little bit. It's all good. So it's all good.
Oh, by the way, that's StreamYard new thing was said. Somebody full of shit, they lying, or whatever the case is.
Listen,
I just downloaded
I ain't lying about nothing. I told the truth. I will get
I'm
it done
blaming
if I could get an opportunity.
I'm blaming two entities or two musical groups. One, Queen. They made a song years ago called Fat Bottom Girls, You Make the Rockin' World Go Round. And Sir Mix-a-Lot, Baby You Got Back. Those are the trendsetters. I'm blaming them.
Yeah. All of that. But you see all kind of like I'm fine with the skin I'm in. Don't get me wrong. I am. But would I like a little extra, like flat stomach? Oh, I would love that. And if I can pay a couple $1,000 and knock it off so I don't have to work out at the gym all the time, why not? I can afford it. Okay. That's all. But I ain't knocking anybody that do it.
couple thousand for that.
But you know what? I think for me, it is about who does it. If I do get it done, I want to make sure. I think it's always in the back of my mind. It's about Kanye West's mother, and I think she went for a stomach, and she died during her, getting her stomach up. If I'm not mistaken, as I remember hearing. But
it's easier to achieve it.
Look here,
it's easier to achieve it through diet and exercise. Diet and exercise. I know because I'm carrying an extra 30 pounds around, but believe me, diet and exercise.
I don't have time.
You know what? This is a funny thing. I always tell people that say they don't have time, I tell people that you have more time than you realize. If you watch a TV show, a half an hour TV show is only 22 minutes long, I do believe.
I don't
22 or
want
20.
to. I don't want to.
Well, don't say you don't have time when you just don't want to.
Let me just be honest, and I don't want to work out.
Okay.
I know what you say. If you can make time for what you want to do. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Just like you got these women out here freezing their eggs in their 30s because they can't find a suitable mate.
I gotta think about something that. Well, what is it that men are doing? Because you know what, that's so easy for a man to try to talk about a woman wanting, change her.
Oh no, men are getting
men are doing stuff too.
Liposuction and all that stuff, whatever, and all
The
that.
Rock did. The Rock did it. He's undergoing that type of surgery. Yeah.
It is.
But the vast majority of people that do it are men. Mm-hmm. I don't know too many men with pec implants, with bicep implants, with thigh implants. They gonna get to the gym.
It is what it is. If I get to that point and I say, okay, I got a gut. I realize I got a gut. I'm not about to say, I'm about to get this little treatment, whatever, to lose weight. And I realize, and I said it before, some guys realize, I'm like an out of shape cop. I'm irrelevant. I got to do something to change the tide. Yep. And they go ahead and do that. Listen, I'm going to have other capacities that work for me that you'll say, you know what? Okay, David got a little gutty. He's a little donut maker or whatever the case is. But he still brings something to the table. It's the people that feel they don't bring nothing to the table. Huh?
You bring donuts to the table?
Hey, whatever. They only say donut maker, and that's my little thing, whatever. When somebody sit around, like, gain some weight, like they eat donuts and shit all the time. But if you bring other stuff to the table, you're right. Some people, that's all they have is their assets, whatever, their physical capabilities, and they might have been a certain way when they were younger, and then, children happen, the pandemic, depression, job situation, and you eat and you get bigger and you realize, like, damn, I'm 40, whatever. Is this all? Well, let me oh man, we got all this little extra money coming in. Let me head to the DR, Miami, Atlanta, get this fake butt. I got to get back in game. Don't always work like that. Because if you got a savvy person who been because trust me, when a guy is into you, he's probably been studying you for a while. He's been strategic about it. Then all of a sudden, he's like, she a little female donut maker. Then all of a sudden, she bang, pow. That's my sister say, pow, pow. All of a sudden, you're like, where'd that come from? And you get with her, and you're like, yeah, that shit fake as hell. That's fake as hell. These are things you got to think about. So I just say, people, don't put your money on that. Put it into exercising, being healthy, or just being comfortable with who you are. If a person likes you and they're going to accept you for who you are. And no one is, especially when you get a certain age, no one has the perfect body and all that stuff. You might have guys that's sitting out there chasing the silver bullet. They get a certain age and they got money and they like, oh, I want this woman like that. I want somebody 25, 30, but they're 50. That's them. But the average person, you got to think of the average person, because you're not always going to run into this mega million or this type of person that has all that money that's looking for some. Just be comfortable with who you are and you'll be all right. So be spending money like that and it ain't real. Shit, what the hell you gonna say to your kids or whatever the case is? Is that what you gonna teach them when they say, damn, mommy? Like, oh, you banging now all of a sudden. Or do you tell them, oh, mommy going to get a bigger ass, so you got to stay with your grandmother?
I'm sorry, my daughters are talking about it. I haven't even talked about it, and my daughters are talking about it.
They told you to get a bigger ass?
No, they talk about what they want to do. And it's because
They
it's
don't
out
know.
there now.
They see that, but they're
It's
young.
out there. It's just
And-
like everybody, all the girls on television, they are doing it. You know, and not just on television, in their schools, they're doing it. So it's like this thing to do
Yeah,
now.
sad
Like
culture,
tattoo, it's like
man.
no different like getting a tattoo now. It's like get a
Tool
butt.
belt. That's all I'm gonna say is
But
what's
you
in the
know
tool
what?
belt.
You said something, oh David, that brought back a memory where I know someone that got the bypass, the gastro bypass, and after they got it, their husband was not attracted to them anymore. Now, at first, I think we thought it was because he was jealous because she had lost so much weight, but he preferred her being a thick woman, and he just didn't look at her no more. And then when he did actually cheat on her, he cheated on her with a big woman. So, I mean, it doesn't matter all the time. I think it does. You want to make sure, I would say, just stay in connection with your significant other, spouse, that if it's okay with them, you still want to be happy with your own skin, but just have those kind of conversations.
Okay.
It's not, I'm not saying I have to have it, but would I like it? Yeah. Uh-huh.
You about to go ahead. You about to go ahead and drop that money. That's stimmy. That's second
I ain't
stimmy.
ready yet. I ain't ready, but I am thinking about it.
You
Might as
trying
well
to
get your
catch up.
in-home gym built.
You
Better
trying
off.
to catch.
He said, what?
You
Get your
trying to
in-home. Oh,
catch.
David said you're trying to catch.
Oh, am I trying to? No, I just want to be able, when I put my jeans on, that little extra little poof is not there. That's all.
There's a such thing as a booty pad.
You know, I've seen people wear those too. It looks crazy. I know, but I just, it is all good. It's all good.
That was one of my concerns. Here's the second one.
Oh, shucks.
I call them the birthday bandits. Why do some of y'all feel the need to wish everyone on your friends list happy birthday? Do you really care? Or are you looking for acceptance or friendships or whatever the case is? Could be fishing for conversation. You need counseling. And what I mean by that is, I know how this thing on Facebook works. Your name pop up, it's your birthday and all that. Me, I give people what they give me. Like I posted the other day, mathematics. So greater than, less than, equal. You give me a shout out or whatever. Certain people, it may mean something to you. As far as the social media world, that they reach out. Yeah, I usually reach out, whether a phone call, message, whatever, happy birthday, and all that stuff. But for the most part, random ass people on your friends list, what is the deal with that? Do they really care? Do you care? What's the point? Why waste the time? You got other shit to do. Do you got that program? Like, is that a part of your routine when you roll over in your pissy ass mattress to say, oh, I got to give my birthday shout out? What's good with that? Talk to me. Tell me, because I think you need counseling.
I will be the first to say that most of the people on my friends on my Facebook friends list, I have some type of rapport with. So for me, it's a way of maintaining that. But when my birthday rolls around, I'm not on social media. I'm gone. You can't find hide no hair on me because I've deactivated my account. I don't want the birthday blessings. I don't want the birthday wishes. So if you're gonna reach out to me, it's gotta be there. It's gotta be via text. So I only get a handful, and I'm cool with that. I'm like, I don't need the adoration. I don't need the flood of well wishes. I'm just like, I'm cool with it because I'm trying to keep up with things that I'm posting on. And years ago, I was like, yo, this is a nightmare. I got over 1,300 people. And I'm just like, yo, I can't deal with it. So I started deactivating my profile. Like this year, I plan on deactivating my profile, even though I'm turning 50. Hopefully this whole COVID thing blows over and I can go take my behind, to Toronto like I normally do. I might meet some people up there and just tie one on. I might even have me a couple bottles of my favorite wine or 50 a 50 something, man, and I'm just gonna be sitting back, just feet up, probably a little bit of a hangover and some Tylenol, some aspirin sitting there, and I'm just gonna be like, yo, this is it.
Herb, if it happened for you, invite me. I want to be at your 50th birthday party. I want to be
I
there.
plan on being in Toronto, man.
I want to be there. I don't know about
every year,
Toronto.
man, that's what I
don't know
do.
about Toronto unless they gonna fly me over in that motherfucker in a helicopter. Because if I have to stop at customs, I ain't gonna do it. I ain't gonna do it. You already know my chronicles on that shit.
Who knows? I might, if the weather's good enough, I might throw a party in the backyard.
Hey, backyard, your birthday in December. Stop playing, man.
I got a patio out there. I'll get some gas lamps, man. We'll be out there doing the electric slide on some snow.
Look here,
or some ice skates.
Are you a birthday bandit?
I am not. I pick and choose if it's people that are, and I don't want to say it that way because I don't look at. I do be on Facebook almost every day. I do because I can't tell that lie. There are some times where I would see the birthday thing come up and I'll glance at who birthday and it's like, and I'll just go on. And I'm sad to say that because I feel like, what if they don't like me on my birthday? Happy birthday. But then it's like I don't care. So who cares? It's like if I can't catch everybody. I just don't have time. I pick and choose. So I'm probably bad at it. I don't do it. And before it was trying to keep up with it, trying to make sure, so people like mine, I like theirs, and now I'm like, nah, I don't have that. I can't do it. I don't have the energy. If I'm on it, I'm on Facebook for what I want to be on there for, and that's it. And if I notice your name and it's somebody that's dear to me, I'm gonna give a shout out.
All right. So the final one, who needs counseling? Again, I ain't gonna call his name out. He know who he is. He know he goes by the name of Tacky. He would probably see this because sometimes he pop in on my watch party. But he said something that was near and dear to me. And I was like, man, he real. He's always been real with me. Not with me, period. Just a real guy. And he said something, and this is specifically because of our hometown, and we're all, from Niagara Falls. He said, just because you're a 10 in Niagara Falls, more than likely you're a force somewhere else. And I was like, wow. And it made me think, like, damn, you're a 10 in Niagara Falls, a force somewhere else. And I said to myself, like, damn, I want to be 10 globally, nationally. I want to be bring something to the table, just not in Niagara Falls. I want to be wherever I move and shake. I want to be a 10. That's something to think about. That was deep, and he got a lot of feedback on that. And I look at it as this, because I told you I do research. If you figure yourself a 1 to 3, you got significant problems. Significant. And I tied this to education, the Likert scale. You got significant problems, meaning that you're not happy with yourself, not only physically, but emotionally, probably professionally, and you need help. You need some type of guidance. You need counseling. To sum it up, if you say a 4 to 6, you got some problems. You're almost there. You working. You're at the midway point. You're like, all right, I got some things I got to work on, but I'm getting there. And that's probably that's an all right place to be. Like there's some progress in that. 7 to 8, there's really no major problems. You may have some things you have to work towards. Rockabye, baby. there's some things you might have to work towards, minor things that you have to hone up your skills. And then 9 to 10, you strength, you solid, you're a major catch. Because you have to think about it. A lot of people think they're 10 in certain places, and I always equate things to sports. And you may say, oh man, I'm hooping big time in Niagara Falls. I'm killing these cats. But then you go into college or somewhere else or get on the AAU circuit and you run into people from New York City, Chicago, Detroit, LA, and you're like, damn, they got game. And that's the same thing professionally. You think, okay, I reached the pinnacle of success in Niagara Falls, but now you're in a bigger city because you think you're ready to tackle, and your skill set don't always match that. And suddenly you drop down to a 4 or 5. Always, no matter where you at, strive to be a 10. And my Likert scale, shit, 9 or 10. If you had a 7 or 8, then you on your way. 4 to 6, you got some work to do. If you say 1 to 3, you're dead under the water. You're dead. You got significant problems. So talk to me, people, about that. Herb is probably getting ready for work. I'm gonna pass the baton over to Lakia. Talk to me about that.
You know, that's interesting you say that. So, you know, like just reflecting. Like, okay, so I see myself as a 10 in Niagara Falls. But you know, I remember when I used to live in Cleveland before I moved back to Niagara Falls, and I think about what I was doing then. I say to myself, I could have took that city by storm because what I know, what I've been doing here, if I would have did that when I was in Cleveland, man, it would have been crazy. I would be so much. I would have been like gotten to some good places because what I was doing, I worked at a radio station. I did comedy. I know people don't know that there's some other sides of me that I've done, but I've done so many different things in Cleveland and had an awesome time that I could have done some things. And now and I think about, okay, if I move somewhere else right now, if I move to Atlanta, because I'm licensed in Atlanta as a real estate agent, I would take Atlanta by storm. And so as I had to think about it, I think sometimes I just be a little bit like just you know, humble about it. But I was in another city like Atlanta to take that city by storm with real estate. You know, I just haven't. Now I'm focused with my family, my kids, is getting them where they want, where they're going. But after that, I can go anywhere with my real estate and make some real good money. You know, so I and still down there buy a bigger house than the house that I have here. You know, that I'm living in here. So yeah, nah, I would still be a 10. I had to think about that. I think it was the reason why I think I would have knocked it down. It was because I don't have the flat stomach. I'm talking about myself because of COVID. But that was like the main reason was something like that. And then I know I would have upgraded my vehicle, but my vehicle is what it is because I drive so much. So I hear what you're saying. You do want to be in a place where you can, whatever you're doing here, you can take it to wherever and do the same. And I know what I do, I definitely can. So that I think it makes sense. I think that definitely makes sense. What you're saying.
All right. Herb.
Confidence. It's been the thing. Bite, I'm still shit. Can't fuck with me. I'm always going to be a 6, I'm always going to be a 7. But to some people that's intimidated by me, I'm a 10.
Yeah.
And for
It's
me,
about confidence.
I look at it as, and I think about the nature, and I read comments and stuff like that on social media. I don't always respond to it, but I think about people like, oh, I'm getting out of Niagara Falls. I'm doing this. I'm going there. If your skill set don't translate to that city or whatever the case is, you're just going somewhere that may not work out. I knew for me, Niagara Falls, is still near and dear to me. People may not know that. I don't bad mouth it like that. I might, amongst my close people, I might say this or that. This is the issues I think is going on. I don't go on social media saying, fuck Niagara Falls, this and that. It's still near and dear to me. And I always said, man. And this might be a shot to you, Niagara Falls Board of Education, that y'all didn't keep me. Because I was a golden child. I was the Jay-Z of counseling. So y'all could tag, what's his name? Mark Laurie. Well, I already met with him, so we got a decent relationship. So I don't care. You can tag him, whatever. We met before when I was in Baltimore, and I came and met with him about coming back there. So the thing for me is, when I went on a teacher recruitment day, Baltimore County, they recruited me. They were emailing me like, come down here, make a weekend for us. Because they, when I met with my initial screening interview, I told them, I got brothers. My two brothers live down here, and they wanted me. One of the guys was like, "Hey, if I could, he was a principal at some school. He said, I would hire you right now." And then he told the HR person. So then they were looking for me. Then they started emailing me after, and I'm like, I didn't pay no attention. I'm like, I don't want to move, whatever there, and I just kept it moving. But then I said to myself, things start getting critical. I said, damn, let me see what they're talking about. And then that's when I decided to make that move. And when I did make my move, I, doubled my salary, but of course the cost of living and all that stuff. So you never know. Sometimes it's best for people to stay put. But you always want to be a 10 wherever you at. If you're thinking about moving, you want to hone your skills toward that. A lot of people move because they're running away from something, and they think because they live somewhere else different, things is going to change. No, that don't really necessarily mean anything. You're just moving somewhere else with less help, less support, and you find yourself in a worse situation. Always try to strive to be a 10. Or even if you're not a 10, even if you feel like I'm a 3 right now, work on your skills, hone your craft to improve every day. Of course, things don't happen on a daily basis, but if you put in that work, sooner or later you'll say, damn, I'm right. I'm at a 7 or 8 right now. Now I'm ready to make a move. That's all I'm saying, whatever. And shout out to Tacky for posting that. He know who he is. And I think this is a real thing. You need counseling if you feel like you had a 2 or 3 and you stuck and you don't know where to go, but you think, I'm about to make a move. I'm about to move because my cousin lived down there. They doing this and that. They say, you might as well come on down here. You can do better. We got it going on down here. That ain't always for you. What's your skill set? What you going to bring to the table? Just because somebody else doing well there, if you have nothing to offer, you're going to be in the same situation, but probably living with somebody else and getting dogged out and people sending undermining messages on social media. Hone up your craft. Hone up your craft in whatever you do. Whether you think you're doing hair and you never went to, go to school for it. Improve on it. If you're in real estate, take what you can do, whatever. If you're in education, hone up your craft. I often say this about me and her been working together, and it's a long time, this podcast, but I see it's like firewater that everybody wants to be do podcasts and all that. Sometimes I tune in and I say it won't last long. They don't do research. They just think that it's a mic in front of them. And they got a mic like this, and they think, I could talk. No, dog, I'm telling you. Talk to people who've been doing it for a while. You got to study the craft. You got to do research on it. You got to research the topic area. You just can't get in from a mic and start talking, because if you got an audience and your audience start questioning you, you fucked. So in that case, you need counseling. Herb, Lakia, you got anything you want to add to that? I know I was going on for a minute.
He was on a tangent with that one.
Yeah. That's near and dear.
But no,
I do.
it's true. Go ahead, Herb.
I do not have anything to add, man. Just like you said, a lot of people think this is a plug and play game. This is no plug and play game. You got to have your shit screwed on. Good plug.
You know, I like I said, I think about when I was in Cleveland. If I, I don't know what was on my mind when I was in Cleveland, but I was doing some stuff. And if I was to go back, like I said, the radio station I worked for, I met Dave Chappelle, Shamar Moore, Malik Yob. I was commentating for the Cleveland Browns when the Cleveland Browns was coming back. And we were doing like a question and an answer event. I did so much stuff. And that was so fun, like working at the radio station. And it opened up the doors for me to experience a lot of the entertainment industry. It's true. You want to be able to always grow and experience different things. I was always that type of person to not be afraid to try something if it wasn't, detrimental to my life, but to try comedy. I did a comedy show. I tried out for the improv at the improv for Def Comedy Jam when Def Comedy Jam was on tour, and I made it to the semifinals. I would have never thought that was in me to do that until my girlfriend, my roommate, she was like, "Go ahead, Lakia, do it. You can do it," because we always just did jokes with each other. And I stepped out and did it. It was fun, and I won. Like, I put on this old lady act, but I choked when I got to the final. I choked.
Like,
But
right.
I did. I choked because it was like, oh my God, am I really doing this? But I still made it to Def Comedy Jam. Met Kid Capri. Met some more. Met her. I met so many different celebrities from doing different things in Cleveland. And I sit back and I'm like, I could have took that city by storm. But I think it's all about stepping out and, like you said, just growing your craft and whatever that is, just go for it. Let it make you a 10 plus.
It's true.
And not be afraid. I think a lot of people is afraid just to step out or always too busy overthinking the process and to overthinking things and not just stepping out on faith. And that's why I'm wearing my shirt today. Well, you probably can't see it.
What does it say?
So it was going to be my last words.
Okay, well, we about to get into the last words segment, so we might as well start off with you. Go ahead.
Love is our weapon, and it says faith. I am faith in action. So that's part of a networking group that we are under with NOAA, Niagara Organizing Alliance for Hope. Faith in Action is our network that we are under, and I am faith in action because we fight social injustice. And this is my shirt, but that's my last words. I am faith in action. So I'm all about people just stepping out on faith, using their craft, also stepping out on faith, fighting these things that you mentioned. These unnecessary killings that's going on in this country. All of it. Just want to touch base on that too. That it needs to stop, but we need to stop it in our own communities first, so that they can understand we're not tolerating it anywhere, not even in our own community.
True. Much respect and love for you on that. Herb, Big Bad Wolf, closing statements.
I am putting out an APB on Mother Nature. Somebody find her, tie her ass up, and tell her to stop playing with the goddamn weather machine. It's hell. Unnecessary. It's almost the end of April. That's it.
All right. Well, for me, with this whole thing, Ice Cream Social, it's about decisions. It's about choices. It's about communication. again, always knowing your personnel. And sometimes people, whether it's kids, whether it's spouses, they have to be told certain things. If they understand who you are and you deliver the same message, I think it's easy to receive. It's easy to receive. Oh, okay. He
You riding his
rolling.
bike. You riding your bike, Herb?
He rolling on
You
that shit.
you rolling, yo. You rolling out there.
So anyway, the message is easy to
Get it in.
that was funny. So the message is easy to receive when you know your personnel and who you deal with. And a lot of times, everything is a process, and people need to understand that. So even when we look at the last who need counseling point, it's a process. You just can't jump ahead and think you could do something without putting in that work. And that's the same thing with relationships. You're gonna have some ups and downs. You're gonna have some things, especially when children are involved. The one thing I always say, if you're the other person, when you keep your plate full and all that stuff, it's less things that you think about. Always keep your plate full. Keep your plate full enough that you don't have stuff seeping in your head. When your plate isn't full and you're still hungry for something, that's when you look for something. You start eating. You start looking for junk food. Start eating stuff. Start filtering in your head. But when you have positivity and you got healthy thoughts and you're trying to make healthy moves, you're like, yeah, I ain't even worried about that over there because I'm on full over here, and that's the only thing I would suggest. Keep it moving, and that's where it is. I appreciate the platform tonight. It was kind of simple, back and forth, just three of us, and the rest of the gang. I don't know what they doing. If they're in the meeting and they got a private room, carry on. Carry on. I keep telling y'all, I want all the smoke. And if y'all watching, like, oh, Dave on to it, I'm just letting y'all know. I mean, they got their lives to live too. So I ain't worried about it. The one thing, what the message I'm sending is, I'm gonna keep it pushing no matter what. So if it was just me on here, I'm gonna keep it pushing because I put it out there. This is what we having. I plan for it. I put stuff out there. That's just how I operate, whatever. So you're not gonna have no coon shit that I'm gonna cancel. Nobody's on here. I'm always gonna try to be prepared, and that's how it is for me. With that said, unless Herb or Lakia, y'all got any closing words? We out.
I just want
Everybody.
to say that you've been doing this for a minute because I saw that one with the wig, your wig looking like Jerome in the house with the crazy.
Yeah, I had promos that I had wigs, I had different things, I had orange suits on, whatever, and I keep pushing whatever. Like this is not a game for me, whatever. This is real, and I can say this wholeheartedly, whatever. I wish other people would gravitate and support, but I don't worry about that. I keep going, whatever, because I understand the dynamics of this whole thing. Consistency breaks down resistance. Yeah, that's my thing. I'm always going to be consistent. I'm always trying to provide show or some information, and I don't got to go about it in a drama filled way. Even though I want all the smoke on here, but hey, we here.
My
We
experience has been in anything. When I had my business, nobody showed up. I showed up. And that's all that
yeah.
matters. If I'm running an event, when I do event planning, if nobody show up, I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna get the job done. So
Yes, sir.
That's all you
my
can do.
hats off to you. Hats off to you.
Appreciate it. Appreciate it. I salute you coming on, holding it down, and not having the fear factor saying, oh, they're gonna rip me apart. Herb and David, they gonna rip me apart. But I
Y'all
know
can't
you're
rip
strong.
nobody apart.
All right now.
Y'all can't
All
rip
right.
nobody apart.
All right now. Don't get too
Okay.
cocky. We're gonna leave it at that note.
Herb, don't you even say nothing. 'Cause all that bike action I'm seeing over there, I don't even want to go into all that with you tonight.
Oh, okay. So I'm just understanding,
Mm.
Ooh.
With that said, we're gonna leave on a positive note. Look here. We heard what you said. We got you. We got you. Keep it in the mental Rolodex. You're talking big. You might be the
Yeah, I ain't
focus
got
next week. All right. Y'all be good. Enjoy y'all weekend. Stay safe. And remember, COVID is still there. You're like, I'm catching folks sleeping. And it's that time, allergy season and all that stuff. So just be safe, people. It's about to hit May, graduation parties, Memorial Day. People want to be loose. Weather get hot one day and all that. Just be safe, people. It ain't gone. It's not gone. And people still dying on a regular basis, and the numbers are rising. So think about that. With that said, we out. Thanks, Lakia, for joining me. And everybody be safe and talk to you on Monday. Be good or be great.